While analyzing the message of this video, I came across many factors that would affect my prioritization. The first was the goal of the speaker. In the beginning, when she is talking about how she felt invincible and that she had no shame, we know that her goal is to relate. But then she quickly switches to her story about her friend Jocelyn, and soon her goal changes to be to educate. She wants these students to understand through her story the seriousness of HIV and AIDS. The goal of the speaker and the goal of the environment, or environmental demands, matched up because they both were to educate. We know that the environmental goal is to educate because we're in a school setting and we brought in a speaker to talk about a serious topic, to give us information, and just to bring more knowledge to the students about the safety and the seriousness of how to prevent HIV and AIDS and having HIV and AIDS. Next, I looked at the implicit and explicit statements in messages, meanings. There are many implied messages in her speech. She says things like, I thought she was in a family way. And here we are able to recognize that she's actually saying she thought that her friend was pregnant. So I decided that I should just switch that to make it explicit and just say, I thought my friend was pregnant. She also, in the end, says things such as, but that doesn't mean you have to talk about it the way you might talk to your grandparents, which we understand that if you were talking to your grandparents about HIV or AIDS, you would be extremely scared and nervous about if they would judge you or what they would say. She wants everyone to feel comfortable discussing it and wants them to know that it's okay to discuss it and talk about it and converse your concerns and your worries. Next, I looked at the high priority statements, and I realized that she put in a lot of extra stuff to add to her story that didn't really have much meaning behind it. It didn't help her goal to educate. It was more to just fill in the gaps of her story. Some of these were when she said that they were watching X-Men. That really is not relevant to HIV or AIDS or the seriousness or how to prevent it. I also didn't feel it was necessary to give every single detail about how she had red bobbed hair and always wore sweaters, because I felt that it was implied that she was talking about how innocent she looked and how sweet and normal she was. She wanted us to understand that Jocelyn did not look like the typical person people imagine when they think of someone having HIV or AIDS, but that there are people out there who are HIV positive that look exactly like her friend Jocelyn do, who might not look like the kind of person who would be HIV positive. We don't connect her to the stereotype of the people who we have seen or heard of being HIV positive. I believe the speaker also wanted her speech to have a high contextual force, so she includes the emotional bits in there to make them realize how serious and how scary it is, because she wants them to understand, and maybe even wants them to be scared so that they will take the precautions they need to avoid being infected with HIV or AIDS. Finally, for my interpretation, I decided that I needed a consumer-driven interpretation, and based off the information that was given, that it was a monolingual ASL user, I realized that I could use the ASL linguistic features such as contrastive structure, indexing, and directional verbs. I also thought that the affect of the speaker was very important. It was important because it changes dramatically. She goes from a happy, reminiscent college girl to now a grown adult, saddened by her friend's sickness, and then in the end she lightens up again because she wants to encourage questions and comments and concerns. I believe this speaker could have been more straightforward with how serious of a topic it was, so I made some of it more straightforward. It seemed to match her goal a little bit better. But overall, there wasn't too much that I felt needed to be changed drastically. She seemed to get her message across in one way or another.